The Giro d'Italia will pass through 15 of Italy's 20 regions, plus there will be 3 stages taking place in Albania. It is a demonstration of the varied geography and topography of Italy, from the flatter terrain of Puglia and Emilia-Romagna to the rolling hills of Umbria and up into the mountains of Abruzzo, and from the dusty and sometimes muddy Strade Bianche of Tuscany to the very highest and most dramatic mountaintop finishes in the Dolomites and Alps of Veneto, Lombardy, Piedmont, and Valle d'Aosta. Fascinating people with stories to share, fabulous wines and the best local foods to accompany them, and beautiful places to discover and visit. All of this and more on Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on the Italian Wine Podcast. Join me for a new episode every Tuesday. Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. We're at a moment of the year that I always eagerly look forward to, the start of the Giro d'Italia, the 3-week Grand Tour bicycle stage race that takes place over much of Italy at this time of year. This year's Giro kicks off on Friday, May 9th. The Grande Partenza will actually be in the country of Albania, and the race will end more than 3 weeks later on Sunday, June 1st, on the streets of Rome, that final stage already declared in honor of the late Pope Francis. There will be 23 teams of 8 riders each, including a team leader, possibly and/or a sprinting or points classification specialist and/or mountain specialist, plus domestiques, those riders who toil selflessly for their team leaders and who live in the hope of possibly being allowed to take part in a breakaway and the chance to earn everlasting glory for themselves. The overall winner is the rider with the fastest cumulative time over 21 stages of racing and who earns the right to wear the coveted maglia rosa, or pink jersey. The pink jersey is awarded after each stage to whoever is leading the race. During the course of 3 weeks, it will usually change hands a number of times, but the winner is the one who is still wearing it after the end of the final stage. If the pink jersey is for the leader and overall winner of the race, the maglia azzurra, or blue jersey, is awarded to the best climber, the king of the mountains, a proud achievement on any cyclist's palmares. The maglia ciclamino, the cyclamen jersey, goes to the points leader, often but not always a sprinter. For the winner, it represents consistency and the determination and grit it takes to be at the front every time, at each intermediate sprint, at each bunch sprint, to and through the final stage, acquiring points all along the way. The maglia bianca, or white jersey, is worn by the best young rider, that is, the best rider under the age of 25 at the start of the race. Like all the other jerseys, it too is awarded after each stage, and it is an important honor to be in white by the time the Giro finishes in Rome. Additionally, there will be individual stage winners, a huge achievement in itself for both the rider and his team. The Giro d'Italia will pass through 15 of Italy's 20 regions, plus there will be 3 stages taking place in Albania. It is a demonstration of the varied geography and topography of Italy, from the flatter terrain of Puglia and Emilia-Romagna to the rolling hills of Umbria and up into the mountains of Abruzzo, and from the dusty and sometimes muddy Strade Bianche of Tuscany to the very highest and most dramatic mountaintop finishes in the Dolomites and Alps of Veneto, Lombardy, Piedmont, and Valle d'Aosta. This year's edition will feature 5 high mountain stages, 8 medium mountain stages, 6 flat stages, and 2 time trials, individual races against the clock. Italy's mountainous terrain makes the Giro always a hugely challenging test for both individual riders and teams. Over the 21 stages, the route passes over a vertigo-inducing 52,500 meters of climbing. Who is likely to win this year? With the almost invincible Tadej Pogačar, last year's winner, choosing to sit this year out alongside his great rival Jonas Vingegaard, the betting is very much on 2 favorites, Slovenian Primož Roglič of the Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe team and the young Spanish pretender Juan Ayuso of UAE Team Emirates XRG. But anything can happen in the Giro. Riders can crash or just have a bad day and lose tens of minutes. This in a 3-week race that is usually decided by minutes or even seconds. Other contenders include former Tour de France winner Egan Bernal of Ineos Grenadiers and Adam Yates, Ayuso's teammate, there to support and also to step up should his team leader falter. It's exciting. The situation can change from day to day over the course of 3 long weeks, and the Giro is always liable to spring unexpected surprises. I can't stress enough what an important event the Giro d'Italia is in the lives of many Italians, and not just for cycling tifosi or enthusiasts. It's an annual celebration of the beauty and variety of Italy, from the deep south to the highest mountains of the Dolomites and Alps. All along the way, in each town or village along where each year's route passes, there will be something of a celebratory carnival feeling, and even doubly so for those places that have been chosen to be the starting or finishing points of a stage. Towns, villages, cities will all be bedecked in pink, and there will often be entertainment throughout the day and into the night, often centered around food and wine, of course. Showcasing the foods and wines as well as history and culture of each stage has always been an important part of the Giro d'Italia. There's even a wine stage each year. This year's stage 14, which ends in Gorizia, Nova Gorica, in the midst of the vineyards of Friuli Venezia Giulia's Collio and Slovenia's Brda. This is the Italian Wine Podcast, and I'm aware that there may be those of you who may, be rather less interested in the cycling than I, but who nonetheless are keenly interested in discovering the wines and foods of the regions and areas that this year's Giro passes through. So for you, here is my guide for the first 9 stages, up until the first of 2 rest days. Further reports with brief updates of the race will then follow. Days 1, 2, and 3. This year's Grande Partenza, as with other Grand Tours, the Tour de France and the Vuelta a España, starts outside of the country, this time in Albania for the first time. The first day is a testing, medium mountain stage of 160 kilometers from coastal Durrës to the capital Tirana. Day 2 is an individual time trial around Tirana, a race of truth against the clock, a mere 13.7 kilometers of urban roads with a decent bump midway, and so a day for the specialists. Day 3 starts and finishes in the seaside town of Vlorë, a 160-kilometer medium mountain route that includes a testing Kafa a Jagoras climb of about 11 kilometers at over 7%. I have never been to Albania. I've never tasted an Albanian wine, but I would like to both visit and taste. This is one reason for exporting the Giro to a new departure point, to raise interest and awareness and to spread a culture of inclusivity through the joy and spectacle of cycling. Albanians have long been migrating to Italy. The distance from Albania to Puglia is not great, and this gives an opportunity to showcase Albania, the country itself, its challenging as well as beautiful terrain, as it remains mainly unknown after years of being cut off from the rest of the world. What to eat? What to drink then? It's the start of a 3-week Grand Tour, and it is important to remember that this is a marathon or an ultramarathon, not a sprint. The cuisine of Albania would seem to encompass both the flavors of the Balkans as well as those of the warm Adriatic. I'm going to try and eat relatively lightly these early days, perhaps seafood from Durrës, such as peshknik zgar, grilled fish flavored with olive oil, garlic, lemon, or maybe frutti di mare alla busara, mussels and clams steamed in white wine. Perhaps by day 3 I'll be in need of fortification and will feast on the national dish, tavi kozi, lamb and rice, baked in yogurt. On the wines, a surprisingly large range is on offer, mainly made from native Albanian grape varieties. I'm thinking of trying a white shesh I bardej with the fish and shellfish, and a full-bodied vlosh with the lamb. Day 4, Alberobello to Lecce, 189 kilometers with 800 meters of climbing. Across the Adriatic to Italy, and the real race now begins. With this, a long and flat stage from the truly town of Alberobello down the Salento Peninsula to the beautiful Baroque town of Lecce. This is a day that will certainly be fought out by the sprinters, those teams aiming for the Maglia Ciclamino, the points jersey, as the opportunities for the powerhouse sprinters to shine are indeed limited in this year's Giro. I love the vegetable and olive oil-infused cuisine of Puglia, and I'm already hankering for a big bowl of handmade orecchiette, the little ear-shaped pasta made from durum wheat, water, and the skillful fingers of the older women who sit in their doorways making the pasta to air dry in the sun. It's May and the fava beans will be delicious, peeled and eaten raw, maybe with some pecorino cheese. But on the orecchiette, I'd love a simple sauce of cime di rape, turnip tops, stewed in that pungent green Puglian olive oil, together with some fiery peperoncini, chili peppers, enough heat to put fire in the legs and spur the cyclists on. A Rosato from Salento is a perfect wine with this carbo feast. Perhaps 5 roses from the historic Leone di Castris winery in Salici Salentino. Day 5, Ceglia Mezzapica to Matera, 151 kilometers, 1,550 meters of climbing. From Puglia into Basilicata, probably another day for the flat earthers, though with a few more lumps along the way. The punchers will relish finishing with a testing rise into Matera, the UNESCO-cited town famous for its ancient sassy cave dwellings. I don't expect at this stage for there to be much drama yet in the race itself, though you never know in the Giro. The GC contenders, that's the general classification contenders, will be playing it safe, I reckon. Their teams keeping an eye on everything and making sure that there are no mishaps that would cause them to lose time. It's a day to enjoy the scenery and to wonder at the power and speed of the cyclists who are able to keep up such efforts so relentlessly over the course of 3 long weeks. Today's route passes through the Murge, ancient lands where shepherds still tend their flocks, so my meal tonight will be simple. Pani di Matera IGP, the protected bread of Matera, made exclusively from durum wheat semolina, shaped into a cone, bread that has become something of a symbol of the city, to enjoy together with a good hunk pecorino sheep milk cheese. The wine? Matera is now in Basilicata, and we could have an Aglianico del Volture, the region's finest, but I'm not quite ready for that. So tonight I'll stay in Puglia with a glass or two of Minutolo, a deliciously fresh and aromatic white introduced to me by Italian wine ambassador Robert Maggi, or perhaps a glass of Susumaniello, a supple and juicy red that will fortify and add strength to the legs. Day 6. Potenza to Napoli, 227 kilometers, 2,600 meters of climbing. Though there are 2 categorized climbs along the way, today's long ride finishes with 80 kilometers along the flat, which means that it was almost certainly another opportunity for the sprinters and their teams to position themselves for the final run-in through the streets of Napoli in what promises to be an exciting bare-knuckle mano-a-mano finish on Via Caracciolo. And the spoils to victor and vanquished alike? A pizza alla Napolitana, of course, in a city that basks under a volcano and which has given the world its favorite food. For me, it has to be alla margarita. No more than tomato sauce, buffalo, or fior di latte mozzarella. Opinions divide on which is best. And a sprig of basil to complete the colors of the Italian flag. The best pizza wine? I'm with Totò and will cry out for my bottle of Gragnano. Slightly chilled perhaps, slightly frizzante, deliciously fruity and quenching after a long day's hard labor in the saddle. Day 7. Castel di Sangro Tagliacozzo, 168 kilometers with 3,500 meters of altitude. From Campania we move into Abruzzo, the start of the stage in Castel di Sangro in the heart of the Abruzzo National Park. After the days of flat riding, the mountains are looming. This stage has 4 categorized climbs, including the first hilltop finish at Tagliacozzo, probably not long or steep enough to cause any major damage or carnage, but certainly an enticingly delicious taste of things to come. Speaking of enticingly delicious, now that we are in Abruzzo, this is lamb country par excellence, and I can certainly not resist gorging on quantities of long wooden skewers of tiny cubes of succulent lamb cooked over charcoal, the famous arrosticini, the lamb fat, black and charred, the meat juices dripping down my chin as I eat with my hands. This simple repast is washed down with tumblers of good, crunchy and vibrant Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, not a great example from Valentini, Masciarelli or Emidio Pepe, but something simpler, such as a pure and vibrantly expressive organic version from the outstanding Tolo Cooperative. Day 8, Giulianova to Castel Raimondo, 197 kilometers with 3,800 meters of altitude. Another challenging day over rolling terrain as we move from Abruzzo north across the beautiful Sibillini Mountains of Le Marche. Today may well suit those poncheurs, the riders who are not pure climbers, but who can nonetheless attack on shorter and steep rises relentlessly, again and again, wearing down opponents and still having enough in their legs to fight it out at the finish. Le Marche has a cuisine that combines sea and mountain with a range of outstanding white and red wines to pair with such foods as seafood brodetto or moscioli di Portanova, the wild mussels of Portanova, or from the land, anitra in porchetta, boned whole duck stuffed with wild fennel and garlic. I'm starting today with my all-time favorite drinking nibble, olive ascolane, straight from the fryer, the large Tenera Ascolana olives stuffed with a mixture of meats, breaded and deep-fried, served in a paper-wrapped cone to eat with the fingers. This beautifully simple and delicious snack pairs well with passerina, light, floury, quenching. But my preference today is for a sturdier and more structured glass of pecorino from Ofida, from the Cocci Grifoni winery, where this expressive ancient grape variety was saved from extinction thanks to the efforts of Guido Cocci Grifoni. Day 9, Gubbio to Siena, 181 kilometers with 2,500 meters of climbing. The Giro d'Italia truly is a whistle-stop tour of the Bel Paese, today starting in Umbria and finishing in Tuscany. This is a day of transition, terrain that is never flat and lets you relax, yet with no major climbs to test the Maglia Rosa contenders. I predict a breakaway by aggressive and hungry riders who are already well down on GC, general classification, and thus no threat to the leaders, and who are eager to try their hands at snatching a moment of glory. With 29 kilometers of unpaved Strade Bianche, some of it very steep, it's a day for specialists of this type of riding too. Those who can dig in, slide and attack, handle their bikes, attack again and again. Mechanical failures can play a part too, a puncture at an inopportune moment when the team car is nowhere near to help, or some other bicycle failure that can cause a rider to lose time, places, and heart. But what a glorious place to finish, a testing, technical conclusion to a hard day, speeding into Siena's beautiful Piazza del Campo, where at other times of the year the famous Palio horse race takes place. I'm going to reward myself on this exhausting virtual Giro with a big plate of piccio di ragù di cinghiale, the thick homemade noodles bathed in a sauce made from slow-cooked wild boar topped with grated pecorino cheese. The wine, well, we are in Siena and it's a rest day tomorrow, so I'm treating myself to a glass or two of Brunello di Montalcino, Donatella Cinelli Colombini's Prime Donne, a wine that combines power and beauty. Tomorrow is a rest day for the riders and for me. We will continue our virtual Giro d'Italia when the race resumes. We hope today's episode of Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on the Italian Wine Podcast has transported you to somewhere special. Please remember to like, share and subscribe wherever you get your pods. Likewise, you can visit us at italianwinepodcast.com. Until next time, chin chin.